Hi there, ladies and gentlemen and boys and girls. We have a tremendous wrestling card for you today here on All-Star Championship Wrestling, which, of course, features the world's greatest wrestlers.
My little itty-bitty bruiser buddies.
United States heavyweight champion from Brazil. The world's heavyweight champion from the AWA, Nick Bockwinkel.
The Midwest supporting, bruiser loving, positivity spreading, world's most dangerous podcast. Join former pro wrestler and promoter Dave Dynasty as he supports and promotes Midwest pro wrestling. Keep on growing with the Midwest Express. This is the Dave Dynasty Show.
Greetings and welcome to the Dave Dynasty Show. I am your host, Dave Dynasty. Thank you for joining us for another episode, another week of Midwest Pro Wrestling, brought to you by us here at the Dave Dynasty Show. We have a great show for you. Here in a little bit, we're going to have an interview with Midwest Pro Wrestling manager Mortimer Blankenship. You'll hear all about him, his career, and what is going on in his insights. Let's do a little housekeeping here before we get into that. Just remember, you can see me as ring announcer for Forever Pro Wrestling's debut event in Scottsburg, Indiana on Friday, January 25th. The doors open at 6 p.m. with a bell time of 7 p.m. And on this event, you can also see Chris Caliber, Levi Everett, Custom Made, and much more. And we have a special for you here on today's Dave Dynasty Show. As you've seen on social media, we have a pair of tickets to this show to give away. And all you have to do on the comments, I'm going to put a post on Facebook and on Twitter, and it will be designated as the contest post. And on that, all you have to do is reply or comment the winning word to be entered in the drawing for this pair of tickets to this event for Friday, January 25th. And of course, as you want to know the winning word, and the winning word for this show is Scottsburg. That's right. It's held in Scottsburg, Indiana. So the winning word that you have to comment or reply on Facebook or Twitter, on my personal page on Facebook, Dave Dynasty, or on Twitter at the Dave Dynasty, there will be a post on each, just one time, that will specifically say this is the contest post, and you need to comment the word, and the word you need to comment or reply is simply the word Scottsburg. If you reply to that word, you will be entered in the drawing for a pair of free tickets for Forever Pro Wrestling's debut event in Scottsburg, Indiana on Friday, January 25th. Again, the winning word is Scottsburg. So go to social media. Those posts are up now. Comment that word and be entered in the drawing. And also, recently, I've been brought on board to assist with social media and promotions for Decatur County Championship Wrestling. And I will be at their event on Saturday, February 16th. in Muncie, Indiana. The doors open at 6 p.m., the bell time 7 p.m. On this show, you can see Bobo Brazil Jr., Vinny Machete, TJ Powers, and much more. And very soon, I will have tickets to give away to this event. Also, the tickets are selling very, very quick. So if you're in that area, come see us. It's going to be a great event. I will be there doing some live streaming, some recording, some interviews with some of the talent, and different things like that. Again, that is on Saturday, February 16th in Muncie, Indiana. Look them up on Facebook and on Twitter at DCCW Indiana. And make sure you follow them for all the information on everything. Should be a good time. Dave Dynasty of the Dave Dynasty Show, Ike Isaacs, will be out at events this year. We told you that's one of our goals for 2019 is to be more out there and more involved. And there you have it, 2 events coming at you. January 25th, February 16th. You can come out and see us out in the wild. All right, now we're joined by Larry Hamilton, whose father, Ralph Ham Hamilton, promoted wrestling in Terre Haute, Indiana, for Dick the Bruiser and refereed all over the area. Larry, how you doing this evening?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
I am very good. So let's talk about your dad a little bit. Your dad, when he was younger, was a Gold Gloves boxer, right? And that's what I read.
Yeah. He kind of grew up in Golden Gloves and had some success in that when he was really young, teenager, into the age of whenever they were, doing Golden Gloves boxing. And he won a few matches. I think he even won one and got into some sort of championship. He went to Chicago when he was like 16 or 18 years old, something like that, and he got beat at the next level. But he was always into boxing, and I could remember, when, right after that, after he came back from war, when I was older, he was in World War II. And so, he came back but when his early days of promoting, he was into Golden Gloves and he was working with the boys club and would promote boxing. But, as wrestling started taking off and getting more attention, he would like to get into that. And so that's kind of got him into wrestling.
Yeah,
because he was always involved in a ring.
Yeah, did he make that connection through the boxing? Because I know there was a lot of connection and link between the two back in those days.
Yeah, that's exactly right. He would, he did boxing, and from the Golden Gloves, he went to the service, and then in the military, he was actually in the Army, and he actually promoted some boxing matches in the Army. He even got into that in the Army before he got out.
Okay.
So he was doing that there, and then he came out and he got settled in back in Terre Haute, and he got on the fire department very early after that, and then firemen have they work a day, off a day, work a day, off a day, so he had a lot of free time. So he birthed 6 kids, and so did a lot of work with the boys club, and got Golden Gloves there. He would get matches going there, get the kids fighting, and trying to get them off the streets and that sort of thing back in the early 50s, that type of thing. And but then being around the ring, being around that type of sport, it just kind of led into wrestling. And in the probably mid 50s, he started doing more refereeing. He would referee the boxing glove, the Golden Gloves, as well. And then so that refereeing of that kind of led to refereeing of wrestling, and that sort of took him to other venues where they had wrestling, and that's how he got hooked up with Dick the Bruiser and Wilbur Snyder in Indianapolis at the Coliseum.
Okay. Yeah, I'm assuming because it was probably all under the commission back then. We had a commission back then in Indiana, and as a referee. So you're saying, as he started refereeing into the wrestling, that's how he met Bruiser and Snyder. Do you know how it ever came up for him to start promoting the shows there in Terre Haute for Bruiser and Snyder? I mean, is it just, how do you know how that leap was made?
Well, I don't know that there was a definite thing other than that he did a lot of refereeing in Indianapolis. He would take off and go referees these shows. So he was at the Coliseum a lot. He would referee Dick the Bruiser. He'd referee Wilbur Snyder. And I think that just the conversations just led from one thing to another. And he also, since he was in the Army, he had a connection with the Terre Haute Armory, and like whoever was in charge of that, I don't know if it's the somebody in the military there, but he had a connection there. So they had a venue that they could set a ring up in, and they had bleacher seats on the side of it, and so we would go in there, and he actually, at one time, he owned his own ring. He bought his own ring, so we'd go in there and have to help set the ring up, or he'd have guys help set it up, and he'd have us kids come in, and we'd have to set all the seats up around the side, the close-up seats, all those folding chairs, so we'd have to set up about 6 rows of folding chairs around the thing, and then we set up the concession stand, and we did all that sort of stuff for him. And he had enough kids that everybody could do something.
Yeah, well, that's very much how wrestling works.
How it got, it just kind of evolved, and I think he was having success in Terre Haute. Of course, Dick the Bruiser would come to Terre Haute for some of the matches. He'd be like the star of the card or the main attraction, and or Wilbur Snyder and some of their other guys. And so it was kind of a connection between Terre Haute and Indianapolis to get those wrestlers into a smaller venue in Terre Haute. And so that's how I think it all worked. And since he was kind of the connection in Terre Haute, he had a big interest in boxing and wrestling, that sort of made it work.
Yeah. So what are your memories when you were a kid and you're helping with these shows and helping set up and stuff, and as the wrestlers are arriving and stuff, what's going through your mind as a kid when you see these wrestlers coming in and everything?
Oh my gosh, it was really too much. It was like crazy. We'd see these guys. We'd be over there at the concession. Oh, there comes Wilbur Snyder. Oh, there comes the Sheik. There comes Sonny. So they had one dressing room. It was also the men's locker room in the Armory. And so if you had to go to the bathroom, you had to go down to the same room where the wrestlers were. So usually we'd make up an excuse to have to go to the bathroom somewhere and go down there so we could just get a peek, at the dressing room or whatever. And so that was kind of fun. I like to bring friends around once in a while. I'd have some friends go with me and say, okay, let's go see what we can find out. We always had to work first. Had to get the ring all set up, had to get the seat set up. Somebody had to be selling tickets, and we had to get the concession stand set up. And so we're always carrying stuff in and getting, popcorn machine working and all that sort of stuff. I remember all that stuff, getting the pop machines. We had these things. We have to set up these carbonated tanks and all this sort of stuff. So it was just a lot of work, but we got to see get inside track on some of these guys, and we got to see them come in, and of course there was always this thing hanging over everybody's head, like, how real is this? Those guys, how much are they faking? They know that. And so we always had people in the stands that we like to kind of watch and see these people that repeat customers would come back there. They you see them, you say, oh, there goes so-and-so. Oh, man, he's been here at every match, this year. And so you'd always kind of watch them and see how they reacted. It was always fun to watch some of the way these folks reacted, because that was real, man. There was nothing fake about it. It was
That's
all
right.
real.
Yeah, and you talked about your dad refereeing, and we'd exchanged some emails, and you pointed out that he refereed what's a very well-known match on the internet. It was a 6-man match with the Blackjacks and Bobby Heenan against Bruiser, Crusher, and Little Bruiser, and he was your dad was the referee in that match.
Yeah, it was really kind of neat to see that. It turned up on the internet. I don't know. I think my sister found that. Yeah. Almost by accident, and she saw this little. They have these little thumbnail things on YouTube where you see just a clip of the video. She says, "Well, that looks like Dad." And so she clicked on that thing, and all of a sudden there's this 18-minute video of him refereeing these 6 guys and jumping around trying to keep the right guy in the ring all the time, and trying to be down on the ground when he's supposed to be counting somebody out. And, the old 1-2, and they throw him off, and he was right there. Yeah. And of course, at the end of that match, I noticed it looked like he got punched. I don't know if he did or not. But somebody, one of the blackjack guys, got up and took a swing and knocked him sideways a little bit. I thought he must have got hit there, but he didn't make anything out of it. He just kind of bounced around and moved to the other side. But, he's had a few close calls. He's been hit with chairs before, and they tried to throw him out of the ring once or twice, I think. But he was usually, because he was a boxer, he was pretty agile on his feet. Even though in his older age he was having, kind of hip problems. Even in that video, he was kind of limping a little bit because he had sore hips. He ended up having both hips replaced twice before he in his career there, and so it was always a concern of how bad he was going to limp or how much problems he had with his hips. But that was quite a match. There was 6 guys in there, and of course Bobby Heenan was always the one that always was the antagonist, and so everybody loved to hate Bobby Heenan. I mean it's a very well known match. It was on TV in the 70s on the weekly show, and everything else. So it's been out there online for a while. It's a very well known match. It's you told me you'd seen it about a dozen times. I thought, I didn't even know it until my sister sent me that. And, had put it up on Facebook, or sent the link to me. But
did your dad ever
quite a match?
Did your dad ever tell stories about working with these guys and being around? I mean, like Bobby Heenan. We talked about Bobby Heenan. I mean, everybody's got Bobby Heenan stories that's worked with him. In the sense of humor and everything. Did your dad ever tell these stories? Around you guys when he came home or cutting up and everything? Not a lot, because we came home, everybody was tired, and then, if we ever got on wrestling any other time, it was, somebody was always bringing up something about, no, Dad, you're hamming it up, you're making it look better than it is, or you're not, you won't admit anybody's having any problem, or, we'd always try to get him to admit how they got the blood on their forehead when somebody slammed their face in a turnbuckle, He would never fess up anything, or even, he never talked about any of that stuff. I mean, I know they had stories that he would talk at the firehouse. I've heard some of the guys that were even in the firehouse, and they would always kind of get on his case, and they, one guy would always have to say, "Oh, that's all that's all fake. You're just bullshitting this, And no, man, he wouldn't take any of that stuff. He would. He didn't admit that for a second. Yeah, well, you said he refereed in Indianapolis and Lafayette and all. Did he go to those shows by himself, or did he ride with anybody, or do you remember that? No, he usually drove. He usually drove to Indianapolis by himself, and I never got to go to any of those shows. I don't know what age I was at the time, but he would bring me back programs. He would have one I got one here that's signed from Evansville, and one from Lafayette, and so he would go all around anywhere that. I think these were maybe some of the same shows that maybe were sponsored by Bruiser and Robert Snyder, because it was sort of the same idea. And so he would go and he would get those wrestling matches, get the referee's job out of that. And he loved the referee. He loved to be right in the middle of that stuff. He was in the middle of those guys, and he was always right in their face and putting on as much a show almost as those guys were. And so he really enjoyed it. But, was your dad like that?
When he started promoting more.
Was your dad like that away from wrestling? Was he kind of a, as his nickname says, was he a ham? Was he always, I mean, did he enjoy that side of the business, that theatric part of it, or?
Oh yeah, that. I mean, he always liked to kind of be the big man on campus. He always liked to be the talker, and anybody that knew him, he would just talk your arm off. I mean, the other job he had while he was not on the fire department, he was out selling insurance. So he was a salesman from the word go. So he would sell insurance, and he's part-time, and then he would promote wrestling in his other part of his time. And so it was all, he was always selling something. He was selling a wrestling match, or selling a wrestler, or, or selling insurance or whatever, or fighting fires.
Sure.
So, I mean, he had like 3 jobs as far as I knew when I was growing up, and he worked his butt off to keep a family of 8 of us going,
Yeah.
And it was quite a deal. He really worked hard, and but he was, I mean, people knew him. I still go back to Terre Haute once in a while, and people say, "I know your dad. I remember him. I worked with him in the fire department, or he sold me insurance," or just, all these people just remember what a character he was, and because he liked to talk, and he did have stories, and of course they liked the fact that he could talk about the wrestling matches, and when it helped him sell insurance, whatever.
Yeah, right. Of course. How long did he do it? How long did he run the shows and referee and stuff? Do you know? I mean, about how long he did
I think until I think it was in the '60s. I think he's maybe stopped some of his refereeing, at least the Terre Haute shows. I think those were in the late '50s, early '60s. My wife and I, we moved away in 1969, and they were still, my sisters and brother were still doing the concession stand at the Armory in '69. And then I think that video that he was still refereeing in that video that you saw, which was in the mid '70s. So he probably did it for a good. I got one program here that was dated 1956. So from at least in the early '50s, he was doing refereeing then, and then he started promoting in the '60s. And I think probably for a decade or more, he promoted shows at the Terre Haute Armory. And he'd have. I don't remember if there was like a season. I don't remember if we started in the fall and had it through the winter, or if it was through the summer. I don't remember. I don't remember a lot of cold nights at the Armory. I just remember it was kind of maybe in the spring to the fall was when he had those matches at the Armory, kind of summertime type thing.
Yeah, that's pretty remarkable because like Bruiser and Wilbur Snyder, they bought the territory, the area in '64 and took over in '64. So your dad kind of overlapped into some of the guys previous and into Bruiser. So that's pretty incredible.
Yeah, so he was bringing them in. I guess maybe that's how they get connected in Terre Haute then in the late '50s or whenever he started promoting. He may not have started promoting till the mid '60s. In Terre Haute. I don't remember when those matches started there because I just don't have any documentation that dates anything.
Yeah. Do you know why? Why he finally stepped away? I mean, did you just get to that age and that point in life where he was cutting back and starting to retire from things? And
well, like I said, he had both hips replaced twice.
Sure. Yeah.
And he had a lot of arthritis in his hands from. He got his hands hurt playing high school football, but then he also got them hurt when he was boxing, and so he had a lot of arthritis in his hands. And we always joked about his fingers. When he'd point his finger at you, it was always pointing to the side because it never wasn't straight. It was always pointing to the guy next to you. You know? And he used to get a lot of grief over that. But I think as he got older and he was just trying to slow down a little bit, and I think it was just getting a little bit too much. I mean, the kids got older, and they weren't able to work the concession stands, and they weren't interested as much, and so I think it was just sort of a natural kind of a turning it over to other people and letting them run it or whatever. But I do know he had his own wrestling ring for a lot of years, and we'd go see him either help put it up or help the guys put it up, and then we always had to set the stage, and and it was always a big event, big deal.
Yeah. So even after he stepped away, did he always reminisce? Did he still enjoy wrestling? Still enjoy talking about those days and everything else? Or
he loved to see himself on TV. They'd replay some of those old black and white shows on television, and then he'd love to watch those things. Oh yeah, I know what's going to happen here. This is going to happen there. He was in the middle of it. But he loved to see that. I think it was just his own. It was ego gratifying for sure, to see yourself on television in those days, and we like to see them too. But Yeah, he probably reminisced more with his buddies and friends in the VFW or the firehouse than he probably did with his kids, because we were working our butt off. You know? It was kind of like a part-time job for us, and so it wasn't quite the same feeling that we had, that he would have with other friends and stuff.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people that would talk to us and say, well, I talked to your dad about wrestling. I talked to him about this, and he'd tell us these stories, and he had a lot of stories to tell, and but we just didn't hear a lot of them because it kind of was more of a job for some of us than it was fun,
Right.
But
well, it's pretty remarkable because in the 60s and 70s, it was a big booming period for wrestling in the area, and it's pretty incredible. Your dad was such a big part of it there, really, because like I said, Bruiser and Wilbur Snyder ran all these towns, regularly. They just kind of did a loop and ran all these towns and everything else. And Terre Haute was a big part of that. And so it's pretty neat to see, your dad, he helped with those shows and even refereeing that even back before that time. And, it's pretty remarkable that, guys like that, they don't get the attention, right? They don't get talked about to the rest.
They hardly ever do.
Yeah, but they're just, they're just as important, to the whole, scape of it all as the other guys. So it's pretty remarkable.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I think, as the boxing tapered off, he liked that refereeing. He liked to be able to, I think they probably liked to have guys that were, familiar with the ring and could get get used to the new rules. And, you're still in there doing the same thing. You're watching to make sure people don't get hurt too badly. And,
of course.
And, it's a fair fight, that type of thing. And so, it kind of came natural to him just to keep doing it, and, he just had a lot more activity with wrestling than he did with boxing, because I think the boxing matches tapered off. I don't know when they did, but they tapered off sometime in that time frame. But I did see a set of tickets, a pair of tickets to watch the heavyweight boxing championship on closed circuit TV. I guess that was in Terre Haute, November 1966. Muhammad Ali versus Cleveland Williams.
Wow.
I got this ticket there from 1966. A pair of tickets.
That's incredible. I wonder if your dad had a hand in promoting that closed circuit or whatever there, and being there in Terre Haute. I wonder if he had put that on.
I have a clipping here, and it doesn't have a date on it, but it shows my dad refereeing wrestling, and the winner is Joe Louis, former heavyweight boxing championship turned wrestler, gets a headlock on Don Lee in Friday night's feature event at Terre Haute Armory.
That's amazing.
Louis won the first fall in 15 minutes, required only 8 minutes to take the second fall. So that's Joe Louis was a wrestler.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. There was
my dad refereed him.
Yeah, there was a lot of crossover like that back then. They had a lot of times it was the boxers that would be special referees for big matches and stuff like that. But yeah, there was a lot of times there was a lot of crossover with the boxing and wrestling back in those days and in the shows and stuff. So that's amazing. It's amazing that the guys your dad worked with and encountered during that time, but both boxing and wrestling. It's pretty incredible.
I'm thinking it was. I think I had one of the little photographs I got from way back when I was a kid. I think he had it was signed. I sent it to my mom, I think, and Joe Louis had signed the back of it. And
that's amazing.
He'd said to Larry or something, and he had Joe Louis sign the back of this picture or something.
That's incredible.
Kind of neat. So the boxing kind of fed the wrestling, and they kind of worked together there for a while. And then as the wrestling became more popular and more entertainment value, and TV started taking. I mean, he would still like to watch boxing on TV. I mean, he'd turn on a boxing match if there wasn't something else on that he wanted to watch.
Yeah, right.
He liked that. So I've always wondered what he would think about these cage matches and all this stuff that goes on now. With this,
yeah, well, it's a different business now, so I don't know.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, it is really.
Yeah, well, Larry, thank you for coming on and talking about your dad. It's pretty remarkable to hear these stories and to think that I mean, people really that know this match, like we talked about the one match, know that match, have seen that match many times, and aren't aware of your dad and what he did there in Terre Haute with the boxing and the wrestling. It's pretty remarkable. So thank you for coming on and sharing those stories and talking to us about him and helping us remember him.
Okay, well, my pleasure. Thanks for talking to me, Dave.
Absolutely.
Good luck with your podcast.
All right. Thank you, Larry, for coming on and joining us, talking about his father, Ralph Ham Hamilton, one of the forgotten figures in professional wrestling history. And it's always cool to dive in and hear the stories and explore these kind of guys. So very, very cool stuff. Digging into the past there to talk about Ralph Hamilton. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we will have that interview with Mortimer Blankenship. So stick around. If you are looking for the best books, DVDs, and posters on classic wrestling nostalgia, then you want to visit crowbarpress.com. There are literally dozens of titles there, including biographies of the likes of Bruiser Brody, Ole Anderson, Ivan Koloff, and of course, Dick the Bruiser, as we've spoke about here on the Dave Dynasty Show. You want to visit crowbarpress.com for all of your classic wrestling nostalgia needs. Again, that is crowbarpress.com.
And welcome back to the Dave Dynasty Show. I am your co-host, Ike Isaacs, and today I am joined with Mortimer Blankenship. How are we doing today?
Doing fabulous. How about yourself?
You know what? I like the word fabulous, so I'm doing fabulous as well. But thank you for coming on the show, Mortimer. Well, hey, we'll go ahead and jump right into it. First question, as always, for all of our guests. Where are you from, Mortimer?
I hail from Greenwich, Connecticut. However, I reside currently in Madison, Indiana.
Okay. Little bit of change there. You know, actually, I have family from Madison, so I've been down from that area. But what's Connecticut like? What was it like growing up there?
I guess the best way to put it is everything's a little bit more classy there. I don't want to sound rude or anything, but people have things in line there. I'm not saying that there are no problems in Greenwich, but there may be a little bit more money there.
I feel like that's a good explanation. Anybody I've ever talked to from Connecticut has had a similar explanation for me. So tell us, growing up in Connecticut, were you a wrestling fan? Was your family a wrestling family? Was that something you guys did together?
No, I knew nothing of professional wrestling until I moved to Indiana. What happened was moved to Indiana, and I came with her, and then once I got into middle school and high school, which at that point in time I was in Seymour, Indiana, which is where I went to school and graduated. I became enamored with the whole idea of professional wrestling, but I had no idea how I was going to get into it, but I knew I wanted to.
Absolutely. So obviously you kind of had I guess one could say a late, interview to or I guess a late entering into the wrestling world. A lot of people I talked to are like, oh yeah, I watched them as a kid. So it took some time before you really got into what one would call, like you said, I guess the word enamored would be a good word.
You could say that. However, I am now a wrestling encyclopedia, right? Because when I got into wrestling, It wasn't I'm watching that Monday Night Wrestling. It was every chance I got, we would go to the video store. Tell my age now, and we would rent the VHS of all the different pay-per-views that happened before I was even born, or come to find out, some of my relatives here in Indiana, they would tell me about Dick the Bruiser and Will Schneider and all these other people, and I just, being that I was living in Seymour, Rip Rogers, all these people, and I just became I was a sponge, just soaking in all of this wrestling knowledge, and here I am, finally, I'm 19, 20 years old. I decided that college wasn't for me. I have all this wrestling knowledge, and I don't know what to do with it. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do, because I don't know how to get my foot in the door anywhere. So that was kind of what happened up until I got into wrestling. I'm assuming your next question would be, how did I get into wrestling, correct?
That's actually correct. I was going to say, like you said, you got enamored with wrestling. Wrestling hooked you.
Right.
So, how'd you get your foot in the door? That's actually a good way to put it.
Well, like I said, I decided college wasn't for me,
Right.
so I did what anybody else would go, and I went and worked at a factory. Got there, and my mom told me for the longest time that there was a guy who used to be a professional wrestler that worked with her, and that his name was Luscious Lonnie Lee.
Okay.
And I went there to work, and as luck would have it, I get placed in the same department as Lonnie Kincaid, Luscious Lonnie Lee. And he knew who I was. He knew that I had previous experiences with being in front of crowds. I knew how to handle being in front of a crowd, but he knew that I had never done professional wrestling. But I started talking to him, and he realized that wrestling was my thing, and I asked him, I said, well, I've been trying, I want to get into professional wrestling managership, be a manager. And he goes, well, I'm getting back into professional wrestling. How would you like to come down to Madison to, at the time it was called SCW, Supreme Championship Wrestling, and try managing me, be ringside, help me when I need help, and at that point I was like, isn't that cheating? I don't want to, and the person to tell me what the ref does, he doesn't hurt ref. So from then on, let's just go to that first night, shall we?
Yep, that sounds good.
How long this interview is going to? I don't know how long this interview is going to go, but I am long-winded, so I hope you've got a good charge on whatever system you're using there. So anyway, we go down there, and I roll in. I have my I don't know what all I need to do. So I have a clipboard, right? And I'm writing stuff down. I'm writing down what his opponent's name is and all that jazz, and just trying to get a grasp of what's going on. Nothing real important on this clipboard, right? So Lonnie looks. I've been able to beat this guy. He goes, I've been wrestling this guy over and over again. He goes, I'm going to win tonight. I'm like, oh, okay, whatever you say. So I walk out there with him, and everybody's booing. I'm like, well, this isn't good. And at first, make them like me. No. You know what? If these people want me, I don't have, might as well make them boo some more. So I just say, yell back at them, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I say a few things about how my name is Mortimer Blankenship III, and I'm originally from Greenwich, Connecticut, and I'm here to manage Luscious Lonnie Lee to the top of SCW. Long story short, I broke that clipboard over Roger Blade's head, and we won the match. When I got back to the back, the promoter of the show at the time was what was his name? Matt. I can't think of his name right now. Matt Douglas, who told me, he goes, what do you think you're doing breaking that clipboard over one of my wrestlers' heads? And I said, I was just doing what my wrestler told me to do. And then at that point, he told me that I would never perform in Madison, Indiana again. And if you know anything about my career, that is the most erroneous statement ever told to me. So, yeah, that's how I got started.
Absolutely.
But then again, my managerial career, I thought at that point, was over. I was like, well, to quote Macho Man, that was my cup of coffee in the big time.
Right.
So I was done. That's what I thought.
And obviously, that wasn't the last time when we would see you, of course. You'd obviously go on to do much more. So I guess
long story short, two weeks later, I met. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go right ahead. Long story short, 2 weeks later.
All right. Long story short, 2 weeks later, I get a phone call from Lonnie. He says, "Hey, I got another event that we got to go to. It's in North Vernon, Indiana. Let's go." So I go there, and while I'm there, I meet Eric Draven. And I guess from then on, unfortunately, Lonnie had some personal things come up, could not continue being a professional wrestler. However, he's moved on. He lives in Cleveland, Ohio now, and he's in a rock and roll band called Blackjack Symphony. So good for him. But like I said, I met Eric Draven, and I guess the rest became history, right?
Right. I was gonna say the rest became history. But and that was actually gonna be kind of my next question, or I guess the next kind of thing I wanted to talk about. You've had quite the career. Like we said, being a manager. You had a kind of an interesting introduction into the business. And one thing I kind of wanted to touch on, we've talked about, getting into the career, but as far as modern wrestling goes, managers are almost a forgotten role, I feel like. So I guess one thing I kind of wanted
yes,
to...
I agree.
But yeah, I was going to say, I mean...
I agree with you 100%.
But I was going to say, with managers, I feel like the managers are an amazing character who can, I guess, propel stars, to, I guess, another level. You think of some of the greatest wrestling stars of all time. For instance, The Undertaker had a great manager, obviously. So some of the greatest wrestlers of all time had managers. So since they have almost completely disappeared, and especially as far as TV wrestling goes, almost completely gone, why do you think your position is so important?
To clarify, I am a professional wrestling manager.
Right.
I am not a sports entertainment manager. What you see on TV is sports entertainment.
Right.
Granted, I still watch this sports entertainment because it still entertains me. However, when I see it, I don't see professional wrestling anymore. So, for myself, as an independent professional wrestling manager, I am content with where I am at, being independent. I don't ever want to go to that company because as a wrestling manager, because they aren't used properly anymore. My job as a professional wrestling manager now, after doing this for going on 9 years now, my favorite part of being a professional wrestling manager is taking these green guys that just came in and started training, because at Supreme Wrestling, we are a training school also. When they come in, they learn the basics, and the promoter, the booker, whatever you want to call him, the owner, puts this person with me so that I can raise them up and make them a star in our company. That teaches them so that they can go on and do that sports entertainment thing if they like. For me, I understand that there is no real place there anymore. So basically, I am what's the word I'm looking for? I conduct training for up-and-coming wrestlers so that they can go on. So I may not get that giant limelight that everybody looks for, but that's not what I'm in this business for. I'm in this business to help and be a stepping stone to have fun. That's one of my biggest things. I love it. I have a blast doing it. But you give one of the best things is give me a new guy. Let me give you a prime example of how I can help someone in this. Being a green guy. Dino Stephanopoulos, great wrestler, couldn't talk for anything on the microphone. Didn't matter how bad he was, the words never came out. You know what I mean? So I would talk for him, and of course I would help him talk. But let's say he's in the middle of a match and he is trying to beat this guy down, and he just does not know what move to do next. And I told him it was quite simple. I said, put the guy in a headlock, and then move your way over to the ropes, and listen to me, kid. And I would tell him what to do next. Something as simple as that. That is helping. It's There's a lot more. There's a lot more to being a manager than going out there and ticking people off. There's a lot more to being a manager than going out there and being a glorified cheerleader. Being a professional wrestling manager means that you manage your wrestler.
Yeah, definitely. I was going to say, I mean, that kind of puts you apart from, like you said, kind of other managers, in the company, in the business, because, like you said, you're also kind of attaching yourself to them more as you're a part of their performance rather than just, like you said, cheering them on. You're a part of making sure that they are successful. So you're almost a part of like their livelihood in this case.
Exactly. That is, and I feel like that is what any great manager is what they did. I was the first time I ever was on a show with Ricky Morton from the Rock and Roll Express. Granted, I was managing the opposing team. I was managing Eric Draven and Todd Morton against Ricky Morton and Johnny Just. I was out there trying my hardest to get to lead my guys to a victory. We unfortunately did not get the win, but as I'm walking out, Ricky Morton stopped me. I'm like, look, I don't want any problems. He looked at me and says, Morty, I want to tell you this. Even though you're on the opposite side of the ring, when I looked at you out there, you reminded me of a young Bobby Heenan. I broke down in tears. There's no bigger compliment that anyone could give me than to tell me something like that.
Well, that's a perfect example to Bobby Heenan, and to have your name mentioned the same sentence, Bobby Heenan, is pretty incredible.
Yeah, it brought tears to my eyes, and 15 minutes before that, he was my enemy, and here I am hugging Ricky Morton, just in awe of what he just told me.
Absolutely. So, we've I guess, we've covered quite a bit. I feel like we've covered so much of your career in such a short amount of time, but we've also talked a lot about how important the role a manager plays, which is something I really wanted to key in on with our conversation today, because I feel like it's 100% underused with everybody, and that's unfortunate. So, one thing I also wanted to kind of touch on with you, with the area that we work in, we are, Midwest Wrestling, and the Dave Dynasty Show, of course, is a Midwest Wrestling podcast, and we feel like right now our area is one of the hottest areas of wrestling. I feel like just independent wrestling altogether, and obviously a lot of conglomerate pieces go into that, but you are a key part of that scene. You are a part of that scene in a big way. So how do you feel that you fit into the scene, and how do you feel like being that part is working for you?
Well, I was primarily, for the first 6 years of my professional wrestling stint, everything, I was primarily Supreme Wrestling. Right. But behind the scenes, there's more to Mortimer Blankenship than just a manager. I for the longest time, I would help, bring in talent and just, the things that go on in a wrestling office. I was the right-hand man and technically I still am pretty high up helping there, but I did move on to other companies. I do go to Emerge. I go to 4PW. I go to, which I have not been to yet because its debut show is coming up here in the month of January. Then there's, I'm making my debut this Saturday, January the 12th, at EWE down in Jeffersonville. I'll be managing a longtime friend, Johnny Justice, down there. And if you've ever seen me and Johnny Justice work together, it's quite a show. I'll just put it that way. We know each other really well. And it's one of those things that me being manager is almost like, I don't know, that last puzzle piece in, how good that feels when you finally, yeah, that's kind of like how it feels for me and him working together. How do I fit in all of this? I guess I don't really know how Mortimer Blankenship is perceived as fitting into all this. A lot of people don't know who I am, and that's perfectly fine. However, I guess the one thing that anybody that does professional wrestling wants is to be remembered. And if one of these days I'm remembered as one of the, best managers in Midwestern professional wrestling, that would be the top of the mountain for me. Granted, there are a lot of great managers in Midwestern wrestling, so I do feel like I'm an integral part of Midwestern wrestling because I want to put this the nicest way I can without hurting anybody's feelings. Whatever. I do not put myself on shows that I believe are glorified backyard shows. And I believe that that's one issue that Midwestern wrestling has right now, unfortunately, even though the shows that are legitimate shows are really good. I've never been on New Era, but it's great. I've watched it. Emerge is great. Supreme, of course, is great. EWE's doing great things. But there are shows that just, and a lot of them, and I'm not going to name names, but they run out of the same building, they run out of the same area, that are just a bunch of untrained guys that put on blue jean shorts and go out there. I will not put myself on shows like that, and I don't care how much the paycheck is, I don't care how big the hot dog is and how warm the handshake is. I urge anybody that's listening to this right now that is in the professional wrestling business to not take that deal, because you're endangering yourself, and they are a cancer on what Midwestern wrestling is right now. And I don't want to get much more preachy about it, but but I would like to say that if I'm not remembered for being in Midwestern wrestling and doing something great, at least I won't be remembered for pushing something that's absolutely terrible. I guess that's a good way.
It's like or go ahead.
Not quite sure.
No, you're good. I was gonna say it's like obviously for everybody who's out there, they know that I'm like this, but it's kind of like the Batman quote: either you die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become a villain, right?
Yeah.
I guess that kind of encompassed that. But honestly, Mortimer, I'll go ahead and jump on that bandwagon with you. I agree. There are shows out there who, like you said, are glorified backyard wrestling shows, and not only does it endanger the lives of people who perform, it also endangers the entirety of professional wrestling. So, definitely agree with that. So, anybody who doesn't like that, feel free to tweet me. Anyways,
absolutely. I'm not hard to find. I'm on Facebook too. If you want to talk to me, feel free to shoot me a message on Facebook.
That's right. That's right. So I guess one other thing, because we've covered a lot of ground. I feel like with the whole the manager side of things, but also we've covered a lot of ground with Midwest wrestling. But something I'm kind of personally curious as is with being a manager. We talked about how you got your foot in the door, how you've kind of moved forward in the business, and how you started to make a name for yourself, and how you have made a name for yourself. But I'm curious, like we mentioned, managing is kind of a lost art. A lot of people don't realize that it's a needed role. So how do you pitch yourself to potential new shows that you want to perform on that they need a manager? Like, how do you promote yourself to be like, hey, I need to be on this show because managing is needed?
That's a really good question. When I pitch myself, I typically just tell them what I do. Who I've. Pardon me. Let me restart that. I typically tell them what I do. Who I've managed, how many, my managing, what's the word I'm looking for? The way that I manage. People have always told me that there's like 3 different types of managers. There's like the classy Freddie Blassie, there's the Mouth of South Jimmy Hart, and then there's the Paul Bearer. So, or I believe that's what it was. But basically, you've got the one guy who doesn't say a word, but goes out there, looks like he has money, and every once in a while hits somebody with a weapon.
Right.
Then you have just mouths off, super boisterous, and then hits somebody with a weapon. Then you have the person who goes out there that's over the top, and Paul Bearer, real over the top character almost. That and then they hit somebody with a weapon. That's. I like to say that I am the one who goes out there. I'm very boisterous. I make it seem that that whoever I'm managing at the time, I don't care if they throw me with the worst person on their card. That person at that moment in time is the best professional wrestler on that card, and that we're going to go out there and we're going to beat whoever they put in front of us. I don't care if it's the lowest of the lows, or if you put me out there with Jax Dane or somebody. I have the best professional wrestler, and if they have somebody who doesn't know how to talk but has a really good look, put me with them, because guess what? They're going to be over. The crowd's going to love them. That's just how it goes. I guess the thing is, with me promoting myself to other companies, I have not had to do that a lot. I've not. Or a lot of them have came to me because they've seen what I do. So I guess for me promoting myself, a lot of it comes with they either get a hold of me or I get a hold of them. I tell them what I do, and then they look at some of my work, and then they let me know if they want me or not. It's that simple. Yeah. Definitely. I believe that my work speaks for itself.
Right. And that was what I was kind of going to say. I mean, I feel like with managing, it's kind of similar because with wrestlers, you can look up tapes and all that. Similar with manager, you could probably do that as well. But like you said, you can kind of provide them the different, what style it is that you do and like who you can help. And like you said, you're kind of a Swiss Army knife, if you will. You can give that to anybody, and it's going to probably help them in some way, shape, or form.
Right.
So definitely for any potential managers out there who are trying to get in the business, there you go. Now you know what to do. Just approach somebody, let them know what you can do for them, and if they want you, good. If they don't, well, move on.
Basically, that's what I've always done.
Right, that's right. Just move on.
Yeah.
So I guess as we kind of wind down a little bit, just to kind of go a little more personal with Mortimer Blankenship. One thing we like to do on the show is kind of get to know who you are outside of the ring, because obviously a lot of people probably know who you are in the ring. They know or I should say, who you are on the show and how you present yourself. So outside of the show, what do you do for fun? Does Mortimer Blankenship have any hobbies, or what is it you do in your spare time?
I just recently got engaged. I have a fiance. Thank you. Plan on getting married leap year of 2020. So February 29th of 2020. Therefore, I told her, I said that I guess I'm only going to have to celebrate this every 4 years. So I better not forget our anniversary, because if I do, that's, every 4 years. It only comes every so few and far between. If I miss one, then I'm going to be in big trouble.
Right.
I'm an animal lover. I have 3 cats and 2 dogs. They're all rescues. They I have two gray cats. I have a long-haired cat. I have a Beagle Coonhound mix who was on the euthanization list that we saved, and then we also have a mountain cur. She's about 91 pounds. So I just took her to the vet day before yesterday. 91 pounds. But yeah, we got 5 animals in this little house that we live in right now. What else do I do? I don't want to get too philosophical. When I was 16 years old, my best friend's dad looked at me. I was finally making some money. I was going out. I was buying nice clothes, nice shoes, and all this stuff. And my best friend's dad looks at me and goes, "Matt, hang on. Let me restart that." He goes, "Morty, I'm proud of you." And, sorry, my phone's messing up on me. It always does that. Anyway, says me, "I'm proud of you." And I'm like, "Thank you." He goes, "However, let me tell you something. These material items, they come and go." He goes, "It is the experiences that you have and the skills that you learn that you will keep with you until the day that you die." So ever since that day, I've become more of an experience and skill junkie. I've learned how to work on cars because of my best friend. For my 30th birthday, I got a 77 Nova that I'm putting an engine and everything in, and I'm working on that. I got ordained. I went online to the New Life Ministry or Universal Life Church, and I got ordained. And a few years back, I married a couple of my best friends. Let's see here. I love to go fishing. I'm just a normal guy, really, but I love to do things. I mean, some of the things that I might not be proud of, I love to gamble. I go to the boat down in New Albany or over in Belterra, or and I have a good time there. I'm all about having a good time with friends and family, and I'm just a normal guy. I have a love for YouTube. That's weird, but I may as well segue into it. I have a love for YouTube. I've had a love for YouTube for a long time. And the weird thing is, a guy from YouTube named Jacob the Carpetbagger. He has over 165,000 subscribers. And he came and had a meet and greet and told everybody that he was going to be a professional wrestling manager. And to me, I'm thinking, this guy, I've seen what he does on YouTube. He travels the United States, looks at roadside attractions. It's really neat and stuff. I told him he had no place in professional wrestling, that he should pack his bags and leave. Okay, no problem. All these people have said hello. They've got their pictures, got their autographs. He can stay and watch the show, but he needs to stay out of the ring. Well, long story short, he got in the ring, and he had this metal briefcase, and I ended up feeling that metal briefcase by the end of the show. At that point in time, if you've seen pictures of me, I have had mutton chops for the majority of my career. This show, I happen to have a beard. So the first time that Jacob the Carpetbagger met me, I had a beard. Well, now I'm back to mutton chops, and he has noticed this. If you go to YouTube and look up Jacob the Carpetbagger, you will see, if you go to YouTube and look up Jacob the Carpetbagger, if you scroll through his videos, not only will you find the ones where he was leading up to the last show, he now has another video claiming that I am stealing his intellectual property, gimmick infringement, as he called it, because I have sideburns that, I have these sideburns that I've had for years, and he has chops as well. So he's threatening to bring up legal stuff, all this different stuff. Just check it out for yourself if you get a chance. He basically wants me to shave my mutton chops off, to videotape it and post it on YouTube. And I can tell you right here, this is the first time that I've said anything about it. I haven't even said anything about it at Supreme yet. I am not shaving my mutton chops off. Jacob the Carpetbagger, if you're going to be, if you're listening to this right now, you can take that whole idea and shove it where the sun don't shine, because Mortimer Blankenship's mutton chops have been around longer than you've been doing what you've been doing on YouTube. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good.
I don't know how I got to that, but there you go.
Well, we were talking about hobbies, and YouTube came up. But A, I love YouTube. YouTube's great. And B, I went ahead and pulled up Jacob the Carpetbagger, his YouTube channel, and I can confirm what Mortimer is saying. So, yeah, I mean, what are you going to do? I mean, I literally just pulled up his YouTube as we were talking here. And, basically exactly what you said. I mean, it looks like he has them now. But, yeah, that's an interesting little tidbit. It's Jacob the Carpetbagger on YouTube. So everybody else go out there and just go check that out. That's crazy. Good Lord. Oh, man, because I saw the video. Yeah. I'm going to watch it here in a little bit, but it says that someone stole my look or something like that.
Someone has stolen my chops, it says. Yeah.
I'm going to have to save that for later. Oh, my.
Yeah.
Someone stole my chops. Warning to Mortimer Blankenship III. Yeah, I pulled that up real quick. Well, hey, I'm going to have to go watch that here in a little bit then. But, good Lord. Oh, man. That's great, though. YouTube's a wonderful place. You can get so much weird shit going on YouTube. It's so weird.
I know.
But I guess on a slightly different note, before we wrap up, as 2019 has come upon us, you've already mentioned to us a little bit that you have a lot of dates coming up, a lot of stuff that you're doing. But is there any specific goals that you have for 2019?
Specific goal for 2019. I've managed a lot of big names, but I would really, really like to manage a Hall of Famer or a legend. I've not yet done that. So I guess to manage to be at one match, and I hear, it's all hearsay, but I hear that Supreme does have a legend on its way. So I hope it to be in his corner.
Well, that'll be exciting. Hopefully we'll get to see that.
Yeah. And I guess if I had another goal, it would to shut up Jacob the Carpetbagger. It's irking me. I've had these sideburns since I was 14 years old. Oh, man. Some people, I tell you.
Some people. That's what I was going to say. I was going to say as another goal to make sure you keep the mutton chops.
Yeah. Oh, they aren't going anywhere.
Oh, man. So I guess one other thing I want to ask, and we've kind of talked about this a little bit, but obviously you have social media. We've mentioned that earlier. So is there social media where fans can follow you, keep up on what you're doing, and maybe even see an update or two about this rivalry we have going on?
I typically just use Facebook. Facebook, it's Mortimer Blankenship. I have a personal page, and I also have a athlete page because I'm such an athlete. Yeah. But yes, so you could look at either one of those and add me on there. I don't know. I think I'm getting pretty close to a high number of friends on my personal page. So if I can't add you, do not be offended. I know that with this whole YouTube stuff going on. I've had a lot of random people pop up that are fans of Jacob the Carpetbagger that want to be friends with me. So it's definitely a weird ordeal. Basically you could see anything. If you want to see a lot of Mortimer Blankenship footage, go to YouTube and put in Supreme Wrestling, Mortimer Blankenship, and there is a Rolodex of 8 years footage just there of me doing what I do best. If you want to get a hold of me, mortimerblankenship@gmail.com. I do have an email. If anybody's interested in booking my beautiful, beautiful face, that's also where you would get a hold of me. Or just shoot me a message on Facebook, because that is where I'm at 100% of my time. Facebook is on my phone 100% of the time. You send me a message, I'll get it immediately.
There you go. Wow. So, first of all, Mortimer, thank you for coming on here, talking to us, and just giving us kind of an insight into the mind of Morty, if you will. Do you get any jokes about Rick and Morty, though? Has there anybody ever make jokes about that?
I make the jokes about that.
Right.
Nobody's really ever made the jokes to me. But considering that I manage Eric Draven quite often, I sometimes we'll be out there and he'll come over to me and be talking to me, and I'll be like, I don't know, Rick. I don't know. It's a horrible impersonation of Morty, but that is, and he has no idea what I'm talking about, because, he doesn't watch TV, but,
right.
But
I was gonna say, I wondered if anybody ever made that joke, but,
believe it or not, I get more Mortimer Mouse jokes than Rick and Morty jokes. But that's
Mortimer
that's
Mouse,
because
like the old cartoon.
Like Mortimer Mouse was the let's see here. Mortimer Mouse was Minnie Mouse's Mickey Mouse's arch rival, because he was also trying to get Minnie Mouse's heart, or so, date her, or something along those lines. I don't know, old people stuff, and old people say that to me all the time. So, what am I saying? I'm old myself.
Because I was either gonna make the Rick and Morty joke, or make a joke about Mort from Family Guy, the guy that owns like the what is it, the pharmacist or whatever, the
drugstore.
Yeah, the drugstore. Yeah.
But yeah, and he had the son Steve, and he's always like, "Hello there, Meg. How are you doing?"
Right.
Got the lisp.
Right. That's right.
Yeah.
I was either gonna make the Rick and Morty joke or the Family Guy joke. I was kind of debating between the two.
You've heard him here on the Dave Dynasty Show as a guest and as host of the monthly Graham's Gallery episodes. And now you can hear his stories. You can own a copy of Confessions of a Big-Time Wrestler, the audio book from Dr. Jerry Graham Jr., former multi-tag team champion in WWA and owner of Bruiser Bedlam. You can hear all of his encounters with the various wrestlers, places, and promotions he's worked as he tells about his colorful, long, and illustrious career. You can have your own copy for only $25, and that includes shipping and handling. It's very simple. Go on Facebook, look up Jerry Jaffe, Jaffe, send him a private message, and make arrangements to purchase a copy of Confessions of a Big-Time Wrestler now. You will not regret this purchase. All right, and thank you for sticking around. Thank you for listening today. Thank you to Larry Hamilton for coming on and talking to us about his father and sharing those stories. Thank you to Mortimer Blankenship for coming on and doing that interview, and to Ike Isaacs for conducting it. Don't forget, come out and see me at Scottsburg, Indiana on Friday, January 25th at Forever Pro Wrestling. And then on Saturday, February 16th in Muncie, Indiana for Decatur County Championship Wrestling. Look both of them up on Facebook and follow them, and you can get all the information you want about those events. Make sure you visit DaveDynasty.com. That is our central hub for everything here on the Dave Dynasty Show. There you can find all of our social media links. We're on all the platforms, so go and follow us there. We're also on all the podcast platforms. Wherever you can find podcasts, there's a good chance we are there. So wherever you like to listen, make sure you like us up, subscribe, and share the episodes. Give us some comments. If you use iTunes, rate and review us. All that helps. And if you go to davedynasty.com, there are easy links there to help the show out and keep us free every week. There are banners right there on the main page to click to make one-time contributions through paypal.me/TheDaveDynasty. Or you can make ongoing monthly contributions at patreon.com/TheDaveDynasty. Again, there are links right there on that page. We appreciate those. Or you can click on the Pro Wrestling Tees link at the top or in the merchandise section and buy a shirt to help us out. If you're going to do any shopping on Amazon.com or HighSpots.com, at the top of the page, there's also links to that. Click on those. Those are our affiliate links. It costs you nothing additional, but we get a little kickback for whatever you buy, and that helps us out. All those means, even if it's a few bucks, helps out the show, helps keep it free and running smooth, helps with our all of our hosting services, all of our equipment, all these trips we make, and everything else. It helps keep all that rolling, and we do appreciate it. Lots of great episodes coming out. Going to be a Grimm's Gallery episode coming very, very soon. Plus more history episodes, more interviews with legends and future stars. And, of course, the Midwest Year in Award Show is still coming up with Andy from Road Home from Wrestling and Chad from MidwestTerritory.com. I promise you it's forthcoming. The results from those votings are in, and we will be announcing and discussing all those. So thank you for joining us again, and we will see you next week. And until then, be good, be safe, and keep on growing.